Alrighty, mics should be live, so, don't be racist, I guess.
Again?
Who's playing?
No, I just didn't write on both sides. Their turn is passed in the initiative.
Okay.
So, yes, I'm the next player character.
You will be the next player character.
I just said that, was saying before, now that we have that, and it's over there, we can still see if you then just forget to move
If I've missed somebody.
Just forget to move them anyway.
Well, there's no way that I'm going to be able to handle moving these. Plus, this happens with them. So I gotta, grease them or something.
I assume, you could
Maybe
just
one of you guys can be in charge of...
Just put it
you guys
in front
can
of
be
the screen. Nobody else really needs to see it but you.
I mean, I have it written down. Yeah, I guess,
that...
but it's like a cool prop, so you guys should look at it.
I guess, but
maybe...
it's specifically for the DM's benefit.
It's a cool prop, so you guys should look at it.
I have it written down here.
I spent good money on that. You damn use it.
But I wanted you guys to be able to see it, so I have it. So maybe Becca is like the czar of the initiative tracker.
We need a second one for the
We
table.
need two of them. We need to rig a complex series of pulleys between them so that I can manipulate mine back here and it also moves this one. Alrighty.
Who is that 3D printer? Adam. Well, you don't see them.
Who has the working 3D printer? Not me.
Sorry.
I have the broken 3D printer.
Yeah, mine also doesn't work.
Hey!
Exactly the same thing. My Ooze surprise based on you.
Mine currently, at least as far as the last thing I printed, worked.
You got
Smash cut to Adam's house. It's just like the thing just burst into flames.
That would complete the day for me.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, last time I tried to use mine after doing the thorough testing. It was doing everything it was supposed to testing, and I put several ounces of fluid.
Were you able to get that access to that? Cool.
Mostly just 3 hours of plastic resin smell in my apartment.
It's my favorite thing, plastic resin smell.
PLA, it doesn't smell. I just have to keep...
Yeah, you can't even touch the resin. It's like...
Oh my god, I have a message from Para. What color are my eyes? What color are my eyes?
Yellow?
Blue?
Yes, I'm a witcher. What? Blue?
Blue?
I think my driver's
Green.
license says they're green. I don't know.
Mine, I have the same
black
thing.
as your soul.
That's
I have the
Para.
same thing too.
Para
where
just asked me. She's like, "What color are your eyes?" I'm like,
Where they
"Fuck,
shift,
I don't
they
know."
kind of shift between greenish blue and green.
My eyes are brown.
Nobody cares.
Fucking worst.
Blue. Blue.
Yeah, my driver's license says green. I would say they're greenish. They're
Dabba-dee blue?
bluish green and not greenish blue. Because they're more green than blue most of the time.
Mine are like baby shit, not
I do.
baby shit.
Oh, I do like the idea of black, like my soul. What happened? God.
Just black sclera pits. It's fine.
So it took me probably 20 minutes to put the back wall onto this little chamber that you guys are in.
Why is there a piece missing?
It's fell down. It looks like.
No. Oh, it did.
Yeah.
It did.
God, dude.
I was just about to say, don't touch it. There's no it's not important enough for the ruin that this is going to cause. All right, there we go.
Wait, these are magnetic, right? Why don't you just flip them so it's like magnetic touch each other?
We can try that. They don't always magnet to each other. Nice.
I'm not saying it's not working. They're definitely repelling each other.
It's
but
fine. Just
if
don't.
you go far enough to the side, it works.
Just nobody touch it. Nobody jostle the table.
No one look at it.
No, yeah, don't look at
I
it.
looked at it. I'm sorry.
No, the whole thing falls down.
And
It just burst into flames.
somehow.
Because it's a Simpsons episode.
I have. I don't know Christmas Walter Gray.
Christmas Walter Gray.
I do not have the fancy scarf anymore. Unless I do. Do we have the fancy scarf? How did you use your only ability to stay alive in both games? I was like, oh, you have the scarf, but you used it already. That's actually a little bit more.
That is a weird time warped non-canon version of this. So no, none of you guys have magical scarves.
I have a ski mask. Thank you very much.
Accidentally on purpose pushed the
If
sheep
that
tail
worked,
off.
I would also actually be a sheep right now.
You reverted after I accidentally intentionally pushed you off the
All right.
treehouse. It's fine.
Yep. Oh, that's the wrong one.
As he started
Or
bleeding
died.
out.
Or died. I'm not sure.
Hello. Welcome to Tabletop Legends. It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, my dudes.
It's Tuesday, my dudes. A little bit different here. For those of you who joined us for our last episode, you will know where we stand. And in order to preserve the ambiance, I am going to forego an intro. I'm going to forego a recap. And we are going to pick up immediately with our game. So, entering into the chamber of the cultists, you guys have begun a battle. A well-dressed man gives a signal to the cultists and walks out of the room. The cultists rush you. Through concentrated fire, you put down the lead cultist holding some sort of a ghostly lantern, but not before she uses it to devastating effect, specifically on Nula, but also on Walter and Brom, or Alar. A creature, an amalgam of, there's no other word for it, people, creeps its way out of the back corner, moving towards you. Kel, triggering a surge of wild magic, glowing like a vengeful deity, strides forward beyond the protection of the rest of the group, beyond Nula's ability to block him with her shield, and moves out just as the creature comes into range. It lashes out, two pseudopods forming out of its massive body. The first one lashes out, it strikes into him, wrapping around him and lifting him into the air, just as the second one lashes forward and strikes him hard on the side of the head. His head snaps sideways with a very unpleasant thunk. The creature then coils back the first pseudopod and slams Kel's form into the stone floor. The illumination coming off of him blinks out. He does not move. Emboldened by this turn of events, the cultists surge forward. One of them, if you can move that one for me, approaches Nula and takes a swing with his dagger.
This guy?
That guy.
Oh, that's the big guy.
But she is able to deflect it with her shield. The other one lunges towards Brom. You're not as quick on the uptake, and the tip of the dagger catches just about the upper quarter of your bicep, creating a small gash in your arm. Brom, you take 2 points of piercing damage. And it is Kel's turn. Or it is not Kel's turn. Kel's unconscious. It is Walter's turn.
Terrible idea. I'm going to Misty Step immediately
Okay.
over to the device.
Alrighty.
I'm going to pick it up. And I'm going to shout, "Take this, you big bastard, and cover your eyes, everyone else!" And I'm going to try to open the
Alright.
thing at the creature, and then just hope for the best.
Alright, you open the lid. I'm going to still have the cultists make a check to see if they manage to avert their gaze. We'll say that with Walter's warning, you guys are able to do that without an issue. The cultist will make a check. The one close to Brom there fails, and the one near Nula turns his eyes away. So you guys see, kind of through the, cracks in your fingers and your averted gaze, the same spectral, ghostly, bluish-greenish light just floods out of this lantern as Walter opens the iris of the lens. The cultist who failed his check, you see him catch a glimpse of the light and freeze, drawn into it just like you had seen other members of your party. His skin grows pale and sallow, his eyes almost seem to sink into his skull, and his very form almost seems to crumple and sag He remains on his feet, but he is greatly diminished. He looks almost as... he looks about as exhausted as Nula looks at this point, having suffered against the effects of this lantern. The large creature there seems unaffected.
After seeing like the effects and everything, I'm going to close it. Try to, I guess I'll hold it in one hand.
Yep,
I'll
that's
just try to, let's say I picked it up.
Yep. So I will say, like, operating the lantern will count as your action.
Yeah, I figured as much. And then I'm going to retreat 5, 10, 20, the corner here. Just basically using up the rest of my movement to get as far away from that big thing as possible.
Alrighty. So Carlos is going to run Harkin for me tonight. I gave him Harkin's character sheet. And it is Harkin's turn. He's by the door there. He's
Yep.
that gray guy.
Harkin is going to grab his heavy crossbow and shoot this guy in the face.
Alrighty, roll to hit.
That is a 24.
That definitely hits. Go ahead and roll damage.
6 points of piercing damage.
Alrighty. Okay. The crossbow bolt thunks through the air and sinks like into just below the clavicle of that cultist.
This guy failed?
No, the one that guy
Okay,
failed,
so-
and that's the one that Harkin just shot with the crossbow.
Yep.
Perfect.
That is all that he is going to do.
Alrighty. Brahm, that brings us to you. So there is a cultist who appears to be barely on his feet with exhaustion, now with a crossbow bolt sticking out of his shoulder right in front of you. And another one, he's not in range of you.
I'm gonna take a stab at Bobby Exhaustion Pants.
Bobby Exhaustion Pants. Okay, go ahead and roll the hit.
7 hit.
A 7. For some reason, we return to. No, a 7 will not hit. So that is going to miss.
Great.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
There goes all my plans.
Okay. Alar, you're up.
You just skipped right over Kel's turn. Oh no.
We did skip over Kel's turn. Kel's like,
I would
Carlos,
like to
do me a
contemplate
favor.
mortality.
He's sort of a puddle right now.
So move me around this way. I'm yelling to like, grab Cal.
How far?
15 that way, and then toward the creature. And I'm going to try and cast a Booming Blade and stab it.
Okay.
That is. That's a 23.
Definitely hits.
And Mo's right next to it, so it's engaged. Yeah, she's right next to it, so it's engaged.
Yep, sneak attack.
And 16, 20, 24 plus 27.
27 points of damage. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And my bonus action will be to disengage and move me toward the unconscious woman in the thingy.
Okay.
How far or
Right up next to her.
Did the lantern affect her again?
She was already on the ground, not moving, so it's tough to say.
Yeah.
He can use an action next turn if he wants to like check her out and see what her deal is. But impossible to say right now. Okay. That's his turn, but he's not in the room, so you don't see what he's doing. That person is dead. Nula, it is your turn.
Alright, I'm going to step forward,
Okay.
which may present opportunity.
Nope,
Okay.
you have not left anybody's
Not
threat
well
range.
I'm going to grab Kel.
Okay, so currently you can grab Kel, but just to keep you like appraised of what's going on, it still has him wrapped up.
Ooh.
So, like, you can grab him and try and pull him. You can use your action to, like, try and wrestle him away from
I
you.
will do that.
Okay.
It's going to hit you with me.
Improvised weapon. It only does
Oh
1d4.
god, that's so.
If
I can't hit you with the hammer, I'll hit the hammer with you!
Go ahead and make a strength checks for me. Contested
And
by
I'm at
hits.
disadvantage.
You are at disadvantage, yes.
In case you would like a second check.
4 plus.
Thank you.
Is it strength?
Dice in case you
Nope,
Strength.
this one.
8.
8. So you like willing your muscles to cooperate. You reach down and you try to pull Kel free. And you actually you get a little lightheaded from the exertion as you try to pull him away, and you cannot prise him from this thing's grip. It has got him wrapped up tight. Anything else?
Can I still do lay on hands?
Leave that
Land
as
hands
an
is an action.
Okay.
Your action was to pull him. So not this round.
Okay.
Okay. It is its turn. So now, Nula, you can go ahead and make another strength throw as you now have your hands on him, and it's actually trying to pull him away from you.
I'm disadvantaged, right?
You are still at disadvantage.
I rolled a 3 and a 2.
Ooh,
so.
not great. It didn't roll great either, but better than that. So the creature pulls Kel's form from between your hands, and you have just hold on one of his legs, and his boot slips through your grasp, and the creature pulls Kel's form inside itself. Go ahead and you can pull Kel's mini off the board for me there, clean up. You guys see Kel just disappears inside the mass of this creature. But that's
Everything is fine.
that's all it can do. It's used its action to do that this turn, so that's actually all it's going to do. Which brings us to the cultists. So Brahm and Nula will both get attacked. So Brahm with disadvantage, the one attacking you, takes a stab in your direction with his dagger, but that is only a 10 to hit.
Does not hit.
That's not it. And Nula against you also will not hit. So these cultists are kind of trying to...
Disadvantage?
The one against you does not, because the one against you saved. Doesn't matter, he still misses. They're kind of stabbing and lashing at you guys, but Nula, between your armor and Brahm, kind of your squirreliness, they are not able to find purchase on you anymore.
Watch it, buddy, I'm squirrely!
I know karate. Okay, Walter, you're up again.
Oh, it's made of people, right? Alright, well... Just gonna fire off a ray of sickness at it and hope for the best.
Okay.
It's a bunch of people. Does it take extra psychic damage? The person takes...
Does 12 hit?
12 does not hit, no.
Well...
So your ray of sickness kind of
just,
washes
shoots
over
by.
it, but it's so large it's sort of you see it kind of disperse across the thing's form, and it doesn't seem to have an effect.
It's a ranged spell attack, so it's
Yep.
weird. Yeah. Doesn't take half. Cool.
Nope.
I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 towards the door.
Alrighty.
Nice to have
Harkin.
you back.
I'm back. This is horrifying.
Harkin is up. Go ahead.
You sound slightly different from when I left.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep crossbowing this guy.
Alright, roll the hit.
Harkin, is that hope I hear in your voice?
That is a 10.
10 I do not believe hits. No.
Okay, so that was not hope I heard in your
So
voice.
that goes wide.
It's the echo chamber.
Harkin's sort of he's kind of got this grim look of determination on his face. Walter, you get the impression that he is not, as you're sort of retreating towards the door, you catch a look at the expression on Harkin's face. You can tell he's not planning to leave this room one way or another.
Whew, boy.
Alrighty, Brahm, you're up.
I'm gonna try again. Alright, that's a 19.
That would definitely hit. Go ahead.
So, first thing he's going to do is he's going to take 4 points of piercing damage.
Okay.
And I'm going to use Psychic Blades.
Okay.
Ooh, well, we'll take that 6.
All right.
14 points of psychic damage on top of that.
Okay. On what?
On that's
Oh, okay. I thought you said on the other guy. I was like, what?
I said on top of that.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. Alright, he is looking very, very bad at this point. As is the other one, I should point out, since it's been a couple of weeks. Neither of these cultists look like they have much steam left. They sort of temporarily rallied a little bit when the monstrosity whammed the glowing sorcerer down. But that has quickly turned to, you see kind of like that look of crazed desperation has returned to their faces. And it is Alar's turn.
Let me see. Attention. Creature can make a will save.
Okie dokie.
Wisdom save.
Wisdom save. I rolled a 19, but it was off the thing and kind of cocked, so I'm going to re-roll it. The new roll's a 5.
Okay. It takes 7 points of necrotic damage,
Okay.
and ALR is yelling at it, like, over here, come on! And start moving me this way.
Like around town.
Yeah, I'm moving toward the
downtown.
yeah, away from the others, toward the far end of the room.
That's as far as you can get with a move. Are you dashing? Or bonus action dashing?
Yeah, I'm bonus action dashing. Closer to that enclosed thing there.
Yep. So that thing, just to give you guys the sort of the description as you close to it, the thing in front of you there is like sort of a glass wall.
Mm-hmm.
There's a door on that side.
Okay.
From you. So like around the corner there is a closed door. You can sort of see it through the glass as you're approaching. Okay.
Then you stop on your left foot. Don't forget it.
Yep.
Stop on your left foot. Don't forget it. We already made it. Bring it around town.
Oh, buddy. Okay. Nula, you're up.
Alright, I can't see Kel at all.
You
Right?
cannot see Kel anymore. He has disappeared inside this thing's form.
I will cast Moonbeam.
Moonbeam, okay. This affects it on its turn, right? Or is it right now it takes damage?
It takes 2d10 on a
When a
failed
creature
save.
enters it or
Starts its turn there?
starts its turn there.
Okay, so hold on to the damage for that for a second. Well, I guess it's going to be its turn in a second. So if you're not doing anything else, go ahead and start rolling damage.
2.
Does it make a save or does it just take the damage?
Makes it a shape change.
Constitution saving throw.
Con save, okay. It rolled a 6.
There's an 8 and a...
You're gonna do 11.
Its con is a... Ooh, boy. So it gets an 11 on its save, which I still think is not enough, probably. Okay, so it'll take full damage. So what's the damage on that?
11.
11, okay. Okay. So this silvery beam of concentrated light seems to materialize out of the very stone ceiling above you guys. Comes down onto the creature, and you guys see that, like, the upper portions of it are burning and sizzling away. There's, like, a pretty disgusting stench associated with this thing, like, burning up. It is going to move
Okay.
to get out of the moonbeam. So go ahead and, you can roll your booming blade. So circle, in that direction, just, like, out of the moonbeam. Yep.
7 points of thunder damage.
Okay. So as it starts to, like, heave its mass, you hear, like, where Alar struck it with his sword before. There's, like, a kind of a depth charge sound. You see, like, a big gout of goop and organic matter just shoots off of the side of it. Nula,
Yep.
I need you to make a wisdom saving throw. Once again, a partially humanoid form lurches out of this thing and reaches for your, like, head, for your temples. You are disadvantaged on this, I think. Yes, saving throws are disadvantaged as well.
14.
14? No.
No, minus
It's
1.
this one. It's a saving throw this time.
Oh, so plus 4. 19.
19.
Stop trying to use saving throws for not saving throws and not.
That's actually enough, I believe. Which is very good, because the 14 would not have done it. But the 19 is enough. So once again, this thing like, sort of a slightly unformed, kind of like generic androgynous humanoid shape, kind of like lurches its way out of this thing. These hands that like don't quite have fully formed figures sort of reach towards like your head, and you feel this intense pressure as if like suddenly you were dunked deep underwater for a moment, but you kind of reel backwards and the pressure evaporates as this form goes back. But it is going to lash out with its pseudopods in your direction. Does a 17 hit you?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't.
Oh, wait, no. There we go.
17 does not hit you.
No.
Okay, it will hit you
The magic
once.
number.
It hits you on one. The other one you deflect with your shield. But you are still going to take... You're going to take 11 points of bludgeoning damage.
Okay.
And then an additional 8 points of psychic damage.
Oh, well,
This thing just, like, pummels directly into your, like, right into your center of your breastbone with this pseudopod comes out of it. Alrighty. That is its turn. And the cultists are going to go. So this cultist will take a swing at Nula and miss terribly. And the other one will take a disadvantaged swing at Brahm and miss even worse than the one that missed Nula. So neither of these cultists managed to find purchase on you guys. They're continuing to, like, lash with their daggers, but they're heavily bleeding, and the one is, like, he looks like he's half a mummy already from the blast that Walter gave him with this, with the lantern. And that does bring us to Walter's turn. So from the door there, you are up.
So anyway, I started blasting. I'll just blast the big thing.
Okay.
2 beams, and that one, and 18.
The 18 will hit.
It's 10 points
Nice.
of force damage.
Okay.
Thanks, new dice.
Alrighty, so this
Not
Eldritch
sponsored,
Blast...
but Arcanist Armory, thank you.
Oh yeah, we'll show those off to the camera when we come back. Those are cool. I think we put them on, we might have put them on Instagram.
Did you?
Check out our Instagram.
Fancy,
I think I did.
expository
I
dice.
for sure put mine.
I think I copied and put it up on Instagram. So this Eldritch Blast launches from Walter's hand and strikes into the creature with like a ripple in a pond, just like goes through its form. And that brings us to Harkin.
Harkin's gonna keep doing what he's doing.
All right, Harkin keeps doing what he's doing.
That is a 16. You hit with his crossbow.
Yes, a 16 will hit.
That is 13 points of piercing damage.
Yes, that guy dies. So Harkin puts a crossbow bolt right into the eye socket of that cultist, whose head just snaps back and they fall dead to the ground. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Alright, so Brahm, the cultist, flops bonelessly away from you, a crossbow bolt protruding from his head as Harkin fires over your shoulder, killing him. It is your turn.
Okay, well, I'm not going to get anywhere close to that. So I'm not going over there. Man, I hope this thing isn't really dumb. Because most of my spells need to be semi-intelligent. I'm going to try to cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter on Blob McGillicuddy.
Okay.
If he's got an intelligence score of 4 or less, he isn't effective.
That's fine. He's above that. So
Thank
let's...
God.
Critical error is going to be assuming that our enemies are smarter than we are.
Yet we somehow keep proving it time and time again.
Okay.
Just gotta pass a wisdom save.
It is a what's the the condition that it applies? Charmed?
That's a good question. Creature left your spell affect the target must be real helpful. These cards told me that.
I have that spell too.
Okay.
Hang on 1 sec.
Oh, is maybe this seed? Is that seed?
No, that's concentration.
No, it's a
That means
concentration
when you take
spell.
a hit, you have to roll.
I'll look at
Yeah,
it.
I don't know. Like you. What good are these cards?
Incapacitated? No, doesn't say it's a charmed effect. Okay, so it will make that save. It is not immune to that. Wisdom save. What is your spell save?
14, I believe.
Okay. This is a wisdom. It gets a 19 on its wisdom save.
Well,
Not
it's
gonna
definitely not more than
so it is unaffected by your spell.
that. After all that, yeah, it was a 14.
Okay.
I'm gonna go over here. Take a step back.
Alrighty. That brings us to Alar.
Cultist gets to make a wisdom saving throw.
Cultist gets a nat 1.
Okay.
Cultist real fails.
Cultist takes 9 points of necrotic damage.
Okay. So Nula, as you are in the process of like grappling this creature and this cultist who's like trying to reach past your shield to stab you with this dagger, you just see he just sort of like freezes for a second and his eyes just roll back in his head and he falls to the ground, dead.
And
Kind of accompanied by this sort of like boom noise that echoes through the chamber.
move me closer to the thing, not a little closer. Yeah, right there. And I'm yelling and screaming every curse I know at the thing,
Alrighty.
trying to get its attention.
Your
And,
mother was a hamster and your father.
If I'm getting your attention, I'm like, go!
My turn.
Yeah, sorry. It is your turn.
I'm going to disengage.
Okay.
Go back. 1, 2, 3.
Alright.
All 15 of your.
That is
Yep,
your max
all
move.
15. And then heal myself for 5.
Okay.
I could do more, but I'm trying. I wanted to try to save you if I could.
It's been sucked inside of him.
Alright, I'll do 10.
10. Okay. No problem. Alright.
You have to
That
kill
means...
it if there's any chance.
It's not enough for you to make a hit. but
That means
it's not
it is
worth
its turn. And Alar, make me a where is it? What kind of saving throw here? Oh. Not just Alar. Is everybody within 30 feet of that thing?
5, 10, 15, 20, 25.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Everybody make a wisdom saving throw, please.
Saves, right?
Wisdom saving throw. So Nula's a
I'm
disadvantage, everybody else is okay. An 18 will succeed.
17.
10.
Okay.
15?
15. Alar is the only one who succeeds. Harkin also fails. All of you.
15 doesn't save.
15 does not save. 17 didn't save. The creature pulses, sort of like internal synapse firing series of like lights radiate from somewhere deep within its sort of red gelatinous form, and suddenly all of you, with the exception of Alar, are seeing emerging from this creature these like ghostly images of horrible things. Brahm, you see a young half-orcish woman being tortured and flayed alive by unseen phantasmal figures. Alar, you see, Walter, you see a woman and two younger children pressed into essentially indentured hard labor, like breaking rocks with an overseer like whipping at them. Newly, you see your childhood friend who you have been seeking so long for. You see essentially just her corpse laid out before you. What Harkin sees, we don't necessarily know. You guys have all been affected by the spell Fear. So, what that means for your mechanical stuff. Phantasmal images of your worst fears are appearing before you. Oh, man, I suck. No. Okay, you actually would have been okay anyway, because it's actually directional. So it gets everybody else.
Okay.
Well.
So on your turns, the only thing you can do is take the dash action to move as far away from this thing as possible.
Which is what I wanted you guys to do.
If you end your turn where you don't have line of sight at this thing, you can make that saving throw again. And that's what happens.
So the only two things we can do on our turn is try to book it?
Is dash.
Okay.
We can't. I couldn't move the moonbeam. Because I'm not walking towards it.
Frightened creature must take the dash action. Is moving the moonbeam a bonus action or an action?
I think it's an action.
You got some time to look that up.
Yeah.
If it's a bonus action, I will say yes. You can move the moonbeam while still having to take the dash action. Alrighty. So that's its turn. It casts that spell. It can cast spells. It's a surprise. The fanatics are dead. Walter, it is your turn.
Well, I have to take the dash action to break line of sight, so...
You don't have to attempt to break line of sight. You just have to move as far away from it as you can get. Which for you, based on where you're standing, probably does mean down the hallway. Yeah. Just for the others, like, you are not compelled to like get out of its line of sight. You just have to get as far away from it as you can via like the safest route. Although realistically, for all of you, that is probably back down the hallway.
And then that is all of my movement and the end of my turn.
Okay, go ahead and make another saving throw.
Wisdom saving throw. God damn it, another 15.
Ah.
Alright, I'm still...
Alrighty.
120 feet away from this stupid thing.
For the sake of our map, I think we'll say, like, once you guys get out of the chamber, I'm not going to force you to continue, like, fleeing. So that we don't have to spend 15 rounds with you guys walking back to this room eventually. We'll say, like, once you get out, you can kind of, like, cower.
It's like we get to the door.
Yeah.
Cut back to the withered hut.
Um,
Slam the door. Like, Moon's haunted. Sorry.
Yeah. Harkin, it is your turn.
Bye.
Harkin books it. Alrighty. Brom. Alrighty. You should be repeating these saving throws, by the way.
I guess once you're in the hallway, repeat the save.
At the end of your turn, when you get out of its line of sight.
Come on, escalators. 19.
You succeed. You are no longer afraid.
You don't have like bonus to wisdom?
And Newlit is your turn.
No,
I can
just
only move
plus
3.
zero.
1,
I thought you were-
2.
You can't even get out of line of sight.
I think so.
Where's
Where
my
were you?
network?
Here?
I was,
So,
yeah.
Well, you have to dash.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
Either way, you're good. You
Okay.
dash, so you move 6.
Let me see.
And it is Zalar's turn.
Okay.
And I'm still at disadvantage.
Oh, actually, we skipped Aylar. It's Aylar's
Yeah.
turn. You are still at disadvantage.
I mean,
Didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
what?
Is that 10? I rolled a 6 and something.
I mean, you just watched Walter and Brom
Literally, your
look out
entire
the door.
party began screaming and ran from the room.
Okay, that's kind of what I wanted them to do.
we
so
usually do.
Okay, move me over to, let's see, 5, 15, 20, 25, 30. Yeah, there. And wisdom saving throw again.
Okay. It fails.
Okay. It takes 9 points of necrotic damage, and he's looking at the unconscious woman there. He's looking at the door. He's looking at the... heck with it. And he's dashing for the door, yelling at, "Come on, come on!"
Alrighty. It fails its save to maintain concentration. The fear spell breaks on all of you.
Ah.
As I duck in, "Hey guys! Good, you listen to me. You guys okay?"
Just watch fear turn to just absolute anger.
Ah, good. Let's go finish killing this thing.
Alrighty. It is its turn. You guys from the hallway, you feel the fear effect break on you. And then you hear, coming from back through that doorway, you hear what sounds like maybe a half dozen people talking to each other. In sort of this like confused jumble of just inarticulate babble. And that is all that happens.
During the monster.
During its turn. Which brings us up to Walter.
Alright, I got a weird talky blob to murder. And I can't get there this turn. You know what? I'm gonna dash over here.
You enter into the room, and as you do, you see the form of this thing is like, and like parts of figures will sort of like come out of it and go back. And this muttering seems to be emanating from the creature itself. But as you kind of walk back into the room, it like stops and seems to refocus on you. And it is Harkin's turn.
Some kind of check to see if I understand what's going on? Or...
Make an insight check for me.
How about a 4?
Real creepy.
Creepy blob.
Real
nice.
So Harkin, you're moving back in.
Steps into the doorway, is
Yep.
going to ready an action to shoot it if things start going down.
Okay.
But Walter, looking at it very confused, is enough to...
Okay. Alrighty, so that's
I was
Harkin's turn. Brom, you are up.
Okay, it's got to make a wisdom save.
You got to get back in the room first.
Oh, I'll take a step. Yeah, then it's going to make a wisdom
So
save.
20. Okay, it makes a wisdom save, which it probably fails. It rolls a 6. I don't think its wisdom's that good. No, so it only gets a 7.
Plus 17 to wisdom.
No, it has a +1 to wisdom.
Okay, so it takes 6 points of psychic damage and has to fuck off, just like it just did to us.
How many points of damage? 6.
Psychic damage. It has to immediately move as far away as possible.
Okay, so it has to take the dash action.
How do you like it, punk?
This is Vicious Mockery. No, Dissonant Whispers, right? Alrighty. It says take the dash action, right?
Just says, yeah, use its movement speed to move as far away as possible.
So
It doesn't
not-
have
not
to take
the
the
dash.
dash action. Okay.
Wait, let me make sure. Move as far away as its speed allows away from you.
Like on your turn?
When?
Or on its turn?
Immediately. Is immediately after it gets hit.
Okay. Move it 20 feet backwards.
5, 10, 15, 20.
Okay. Alrighty. Nice. Okay, that is Brom's turn. Alar.
Okay. Back into the
All stages of grief here.
10, 15, 20,
Olive.
25, 30.
Lay down.
And again, again, wisdom saving throw.
Alrighty. Gets a 12. Fails.
9 points of necrotic damage as Alar is stalking toward it with his rapier.
Alrighty. Alright. So again, you guys kind of hear through this chamber, like, continues to, like, echo off of the walls. This thing sort of, like, recoils back. Nula, you're up.
I'm gonna come back in the room.
Alrighty.
1.
5, 10, so 15. Your normal move can get you there. Yep.
And then I'm gonna cast Moonbeam.
Okie
Or
dokie.
not cast it. Relocate the Moonbeam.
How far can you move it?
60 feet.
60. Oh, plenty. Okay. So yeah, you can move the moonbeam onto it. So the moon, you guys kind of see like this moonbeam shifts across the floor. There's like a of like scorched stone behind it as she moves it back onto the creature. And on its, go ahead and roll the damage because it's going to be its turn now.
It gets to make a con save.
Con save?
Yep.
Oh yeah, for half damage. Whoop. Gets a nat 1. Well, that's
So
con
12
save.
damage.
12 damage. Okay. 12 damage. Alrighty. So it is its turn. It is going to... where are we at here? It's not a big enough cube.
That's never a good sign.
25. It can get everybody. I need you guys to make a wisdom saving throw again.
Is this a charm?
Yes.
Okay.
19.
21.
Wisdom?
I'll just the mark is 8. The mark is 18. I'll just let you guys know.
17.
Okay, so Nula fails.
6.
Harkin fails. You
21.
3 succeeded. Yeah. Okay. This again, the creature pulses, and this like burst, this kaleidoscopic burst of colors and swirling patterns appears in the air, like right over you guys, and it begins to like sort of drive your senses away from you as you're sort of like hypnotized by this pattern. You three manage to like kind of shake off the effect and keep your wits, but you see like Harkin and Nula, they're kind of like their weapons sort of just like drop limply to their sides, and they're just sort of like staring into the middle distance. As it does this, something else happens.
It does.
Yeah, it does. You win. Good job. No, actually, a figure begins to form. Much like you had seen the couple of times it like it lunged at Nula.
Zombie kill.
Funny you should say that. About 3.5 feet tall. Dirty blonde hair. Outfit covered in pockets and pouches and small bags. At first sort of like red and amorphous, but then solidifying just as he's always looked. Kel walks out of the creature's form. And he puts his hands up like this. And he goes, in Kel's voice, "Wait. We want to talk."
Kill it! Alright, but you talk from over there.
Alright, that's its turn. Which does bring us to Walter. How do you respond to this?
I'm not saying I have all the dice in my hand for it. I'm hesitating for a second. I'm gonna glance over at like.
So Nula and Harkin seem to be out of the fight at this point.
I'm gonna quickly glance at Brom and Alar and just like kind of like eyebrow up.
My focus is on it, so all you see is the back of my head. Sorry.
I guess we might as well hear it out.
You got hold of
Hesitating. I'm gonna hold an action to unleash hell if it does any kind of offensive action again.
Harkin, you are stupefied. Brom.
Do nothing.
Do nothing. Okay. And Alar, same question.
Arcana check.
Okay. What are you arcana-ing about?
Does this seem like an illusion to me? Yeah, that's a.
It does not seem like illusion magic. It looks. Kel looks.
Kelly.
Physical. He does not look like he's like a hologram or incorporeal. He looks solid.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it behind him. It's Tupac.
Yeah. Long deep breath and. All right. Talk.
Alrighty. So I think that's everybody who can actually do anything. All right. So we'll pause our initiative for now. As Kel says to you, we understand something. Please wait. We want to make a deal.
Go on.
Kind of a few seconds pass in sort of silence. The Kel continues. Sort of lowers his hands to a more neutral position, but he's sort of maintaining kind of a non-threatening pose. And he waits long enough for Harkin and Nula to kind of snap out of it. So the effect of the hypnotic pattern spell wears off of you guys, so you can participate in the conversation. And you guys come to again, and Kel is sort of standing there watching you, and he says, "We think it's unlikely that we will survive continued confrontation with you." And Kel gets this sort of ponderous expression on his face, and he says, "There's a lot that is unclear to us, but the biological imperative for self-preservation exists strongly. It exists within us as it did in all of those who are part of us now." He kind of shrugs in a sort of a very Kel body language motion, and he says, "In short, we don't want to die." He kind of looks over you guys for a moment. He says, "Likewise, the impetus to prolong your life, we assume, exists in you as well. We may not survive resumed hostility, but confidently, at least one of you would not either." He kind of looks sort of off into the distance, and he says, "Someone in here would have put it like this: if we're going down, you're coming with us."
There's force magic on the tips of my fingers right now,
All right. So
it's just charged. It's
Yeah,
just
Walter's like...
all right. So
We want Cal back.
So you kind of begin to diplomacy with it. Walter is like, and it was like, "Give me my friend back." It sort of in order. Kel sort of it kind of holds up a hand in your direction, sort of in a placating motion. He says, "We only mean to impart an understanding of mutually assured destruction as motivation to hear us out. We know who you are." And he sort of Kel kind of turns towards you, Nula, and he shakes his head, and he says, "Everything that I knew everything that Kel knew is in here now. He points to his temple, and then he goes, you get the idea.
You got a lot of useless crap in there now.
Yo, the body then, where is it?
Kel sort of gestures kind of at his form and himself. He says, its components have become part of us. That is our nature.
I'm taking it back.
He sort of shakes his head and he says, I'm afraid that's not possible. He says, context. That's the word. Understanding. We understand more of this situation than we did before. We don't think we need to fight you.
If not us, how about the guy who was watching?
Kel looks in the direction of where the well-dressed man disappeared, and he kind of nods and he says, your quarrel is with him. He kind of considers and he says, he is in a way our creator, but there is still much that we don't understand about the nature of our existence.
Do you have memories of all the people you are?
Kel nods and he says, yes. Everyone that they brought here and gave to us, it is our consciousness.
Is there one among you named Eleanor?
And he sort of looks towards you and kind of surveys the crowd, and Harkin kind of like takes a few steps forward at this point. And Kel looks to his right, and a second form steps out of the creature. Young woman, human, dark hair, early 20s.
Of course.
And she says, this one did not know any of you. You know her.
Of you?
And Harkin at this point kind of like, he's like, shit. Kid. What did they do to you? And she looks at him with a kind of ponderous expression on her face. And she says, you are not someone we know, not someone she knew. And he just sort of shakes his head and kind of looks down at his feet and doesn't say anything else at this point.
No, but you were the reason why we eventually ended up here.
Both she and Kel like simultaneously nod. And then Kel continues speaking and he says, our consciousness, our essence is comprised of those who were incorporated into our being. We know what they know. We contextualize our existence through the framework of their consciousness. But there is more to what we are that we don't understand because they don't understand.
Can you consent to coming with us?
Kel kind of looks down and he says, we would prefer a peaceable parting of the ways. He gestures towards the door. He is responsible for this. He points to the lantern where it's like slung into your belt. We don't care what that is. But that was your goal. We simply want to live and to try and figure out why we exist and what we are.
We have people that can help with that. Kel knows them. We can't set you on this world knowingly.
He kind of looks up as if sort of pondering for a moment. He says, "The aging wizards."
Yes.
Kind of shakes his head and he says, "We understand what we are. We understand your hesitation. We maintain the..." He gets a little lost in the weeds of his own sort of like phrasing. He says, "Our sense of self is framed entirely by individuals whose knowledge of us is contextualized moments before they were incorporated into our being. In your terms, we understand that we are a monster." He seems unwilling to like kind of come with you. He sort of shakes his head. He says, "We just want to go."
Will you not try to incorporate anyone else?
He kind of he sort of ponders and he says, "That is not something that we know. We are unclear on the biological necessities of our survival." And Kel gestures towards you and he says, "In some ways we are similar. You are organic matter and you must consume other organic matter in order to prolong your own existence. We may be the same, we may not. We don't think that we hold malevolence towards organic beings of your kind, but we are not sure whether or not feeding is necessary."
You could let us follow you, and I could try to heal you until we figured out an answer.
Is there any among you that know your name?
He shakes his head. He says, "Our scope of understanding was limited until Kel became part of us. Those that were brought here," and he gestures towards that circle where that form of that girl is still like unmoving on this ritual circle.
Quick glance over. Does she appear to be breathing?
She does not appear to be breathing, as far as you can tell. You'd have to get closer, but you think she might be dead from the whatever the cultists did to her. He says, "Our understanding, our context of our own existence was comprised of the intellectual power of the ones that they would bring us. They were limited in their experience. It is Kel that has given us further context for our existence."
We're not going to get anywhere with this thing. We should really...
He gestures again towards the door. He says, "Your true enemy is through there. We will not stand in your way."
Is there anyone within you named Corey?
No.
I still want Kel back.
Kel's dead.
Kel thinks. He looks. He says, he points to the door again, and he says, "Pursue the well-dressed man. We will try and figure out what we can do."
Can you agree to stay here until we return? Or until the well-dressed man returns, I suppose?
I knock down that wall.
But Braun, football linebacker, charges an entire wall down.
And he goes,
up to
"Oh,
that,
yeah."
all the way up to that door and see if it's open.
The door does appear to be locked.
Alright, I'm going to attempt to crowbar that door.
All right, make a crowbar check. Athletics check, probably.
All right, time for a little Volandian justice, I guess.
18.
Yeah, so you plan A into the door jamb and just... and it breaks open. The locking mechanism from within opens, and the door opens. You gain access to sort of that chamber. There is a second door in there, which as you approach it is not locked, from what you can tell.
I'm gonna follow
Open second
Ron.
door.
Everybody heading in through this.
Yep.
I'm going to just encourage one more time to get the creature to stay here at least.
Kel seems to be lost in thought from the time that he told Newell I'll see what I can do for that. So he's not really he kind of you get a little bit of acknowledgement that he's aware that you're there, but he seems to be thinking very hard about something and doesn't really pay much attention to you otherwise.
What is the ceiling made of here?
Stone. It's all stone. Yeah.
Okay, I was definitely going to collapse the entire pathway out. With that, I'll just leave.
Okay, so you guys kind of head in there. Alrighty. So as you make your way through that second door, the group of you pile in, you're actually in a pretty small chamber beyond this one. It's only about 10 by 10. And the well-dressed man is just in this room sitting at a desk. There is the desk, the small desk that he is sitting behind. There is an area rug on the floor. There are few other things in this chamber. Few stacks of books on a shelf. Couple of chairs in front of the desk, and then an iron brazier, which is lit. And as you guys enter, the coals within are glowing cherry red, and you are able to see the last disintegrating particles of what was probably a decent-sized stack of parchment that has been burned within this.
What's the desk
this
like?
fire. Desk is wood.
I'd like to flip that desk.
Okay, you sort of make a strength check.
We a natural one.
Fist splitter.
All the time to roll.
You run up, yeah, it is. You're "Ugh!" And it appears to be secured to the floor somehow.
Okay, when I go to flip it and it doesn't flip, and then I'm just angrily shove all the crap off it.
So he is sitting in a chair behind the desk. His hands, he's got these velvet gloves on his hands, which are just folded on the desk in front of him. He sort of backs. Just pulls his hands back as you just knock everything off his desk. For all the world, he looks completely composed, completely almost at ease. And he looks around at the group as all of you kind of file into this room. And as his eyes land on Harkin, his chin inclines in a micro gesture of like recognition, and he says, "Ah, Investigator Harkin, you are persistent." And his eyes shift over to you guys, and it's difficult to suppress like a little bit of like a shiver of like skeeved outness as his eyes like pass over you. They're like this kind of flinty black, almost like shark eyes. These dead eyes look at you, and he says, "And who might all of you be?"
We'll skip the introductions. He gets to make a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. He gets he doesn't have stats. He rolls a 14.
That's actually enough to keep the Toll of the Dead from
Okay.
off. And
Also-
Alar draws his rapier.
Alar draws his rapier. Harkin goes, as he like sort of greets as you like pull your sword or whatever. Harkin kind of growls and he goes, "Councilman Lazar."
How far away is he, like, across the desk?
A couple feet. Like, throttleable, if that's what you're thinking about.
Is he punchable? Punch distance?
He's punching distance. If you want to take a swing at him, go ahead and roll to hit.
Try not to break the jaw.
This is technically an unarmed strike, right? Yeah.
This will be an unarmed strike, so it is a strength-based attack roll without your proficiency bonus.
That would be a 13.
So a 13. He sort of like backs up a little bit. You kind of hear his chair go like boop, and then like hit the ground again. He still doesn't look particularly concerned, even though you guys have like sort of made some pretty aggressive motions in his direction. No, Brahm like took a swing and he just sort of went like, and kind of he just leaned back in his chair, away from it. He does look a little bit like he gives you kind of like a couple of blinks of like, really, as you sort of swing at him.
He's lucky he took his hands off the desk. I was going to put something through his hands earlier.
And he says, "Come now. You clearly have no idea what you've interrupted."
I understand that you're a douche.
He...
Have an idea about that, bitch?
And Harkin sort of like just to you guys, he said, "This is Solomon Lazar. He's one of the city council. He's one of the city council of Audricombe."
Does the name sound familiar in any positive or negative connotation to me?
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, you know that if he's a city council member, he's like one of the, however many, he's one of the people that runs this entire city. So like, he's not nobody. You don't necessarily know who he is specifically.
It doesn't matter who he is, because in 10 minutes he's going to be a fine powder.
I was
question
going
to find powder, sir.
look at him for a moment, put away the rapier, and roll a hand check.
Okay.
And that is a 22.
What are you trying to do?
I'm quietly reaching for the dagger that cuts and then
Gotcha.
heals again.
Okay. He doesn't seem to notice. He looks over you guys for a minute after you guys like a lot of like posturing takes place. You guys are very threatening. He's very like carefully doesn't seem to give a crap. And he he says, "As I said, you clearly have no idea what you've interrupted. So, my question to you is this. How much?"
25,000 gold.
He looks at you, not with an expression that tells you that, like, that number sounds outrageous to him. He actually looks like he's considering it. And he says...
Back, our friends.
And he looks at you. "I don't know who you people are. What friends?"
whoever is in the blob next door.
He sort of shakes his head. He says, if you're in here, I assume you've destroyed it, which is unfortunate, but not insurmountable. Unlike, he points to the lantern at your hip, that which I will require back. He says, if your friends, whoever they were, are part of that now, there's nothing I can do, and I'm very sorry that they got tangled up in this, but
No.
it is the price. He does not seem sorry at all. You don't even need an insight check for that. He doesn't seem to give a shit. He says, this is what happens when you meddle with things that you do not understand.
Does a 17 hit?
Yes.
I bitch slap him. I mean, you just shoot another friend. BAM!
So you slap him. Go ahead and roll a d4. Don't worry about the damage. You slap him. He's sort of like over the side. And he goes, charming.
Where that came from, punk.
He says, you must understand that this is a terrible waste of my time. I am on an extremely important schedule. So the quicker that we can wrap this up, and I can get back to my work, the better, for everyone, yourselves included, whether you understand it or not. He looks at the brazier. He says, no. He says, again, papers that, for me, are inconsequential, but I can't have every half-baked group of relic hunters that storms the place gaining information about the work that is being done here. He says, so again, how much? 25,000? I believe I can arrange that.
That's just for him.
No.
He kind of looks and he says, he looks to you as you like have the lantern. He says, 25,000. I will take that. We part our separate ways.
That was to get us to leave.
He says, I'm afraid we misunderstand each other. The lantern is critical to my work.
And what is your work?
Sort of, he smiles this sort of cold, predatory smile. He says, no, I don't think we'll be doing that.
Thunderous Smite.
Roll to hit.
Save the head!
Am I still at disadvantage?
Yeah.
What's the golden D20?
Blob.
Harkin. Currently.
Oh, I was gonna say, if Kel has it, can he gift it to somebody?
He can. Yeah, always can.
No, I mean, he can use
Oh, wait.
it. I just
I'm
thought
not
it was
rolling a
Kel,
hit. I'm
specific
rolling
to Kel.
damage, right?
Kel's
You gotta hit him with Thunderous Smite.
Please.
What do I add?
It's a melee attack. You're gonna have to cross the room and hit him with your hammer,
Oh.
and then your Thunderous Smite does your hammer damage plus extra thunder damage.
Oh, okay.
20? Yeah,
this
that'll hit.
Yeah, an unarmed sitting guy with no armor definitely does not have 20
So go ahead and roll hammer damage, and then roll whatever the thunder damage that gets added for the.
Well, there goes that idea.
Well, this just obliterates into.
That's 11 plus.
As she's like going to say, he's like, don't aim for the head, don't aim for the head, don't aim for the head.
11 plus 9, so 20 damage.
You guys are like in this conversation, and almost before anybody can react, Nula has like taken the 3 steps to cross the room, and the hammer comes like over the plane of the desk. Brahm, you have to like jump out of the way, and the hammer just connects with like the side of this guy, and then the whole room just goes like a flashbang went off. It's just like poof, and you're like temporarily blinded, and all you guys can hear is like. And as your senses clear, there is a very dead corpse of this individual, has been knocked all the way out of his chair. Nuala, the last thing, like, as your hammer came across, he, like, looked at the hammer as you, like, pulled it back, and then, like, the last thing is he, like, his eyes flicked from the hammer to you, and he just had this expression of, like, mild confusion. Right up to the moment that the hammer just, like, obliterated, his torso. And he is dead.
How much of the body is remaining?
It's all there. It's just like, it's like it got hit by, like, a semi. It has been, like, crushed.
I'm gonna palm the dagger again.
And hearken, like, you guys hear the, like, sort of the click of his crossbow being, like, unloaded. As you sort of kind of, like, look to him, and he, like, stows it back away and, like, shrugs at you. You get the impression that, like, if she didn't do it, and it looked like you guys were going to let him get away, she was going to shoot that guy.
I'm going to catch his eye for a moment, and there's just the very slightest nod. And then I'm going to go.
I turn to Nuala, who's standing, and I'm like, okay, you should have known that was the plan the whole time, but you should have also known that we were trying to get information before he was...
I
let her
immediately
go.
starting a ritual for disc, followed by...
If we don't bring the corpse of a really high official waltzing around town, Walter...
Yeah, that seems like a normal
Plan
idea.
H, then? We need to ask this guy questions.
I can
keep
bring him back and then say, if you don't...
I don't think
Do
you can
something.
bring him back. I don't
You
think
cannot
can
bring him back. He's very dead.
Nuala, even
Why
if
did
you
you just-
could...
You did, like, double his HP.
Look,
Nuala, even if you could, you're probably dancing on the line with your vows. It's one thing
You
if
just bring him back now.
one
right
of the
here.
three of us did it, but
cannot do that.
that was... what you did there, righteous fury.
Yeah, I'm gonna immediately start casting.
Okay, so book collection.
So the books do not seem to be of, like, relevance to anything that gives you information. They're, like, kind of standard, like, almost like show books.
Training on dragons.
I'll bring them with me because
That's fine.
they might have hidden parchments in them.
Gentle repose, then disc.
Okay.
The desk I will rifle through.
So it's just like a tabletop. There's not, like,
Okay.
drawers or whatever. So you can sort of, like, look at the stuff that Brom, like, knocked all over the floor. Similarly, you find, so there's, like, an inkwell that has been, like, smashed all over the place, quills, blank paper, but it looks like anything that had any pertinent information on it is in the fire, burned.
Okay. How big is the brazier? Small, big?
Yay big around and waist height.
That's too big to haul. I will, once he's finished gentle repose and such, rifle the body.
Okay. Go ahead and make an investigation check.
Let's see. 12. 20, not natural.
You find two things of note on the body. As you were rifling sort of, like, through his pockets in his doublet, you don't find anything in, like, the pockets of his doublet or anything like that, but you sort of, like, your fingers brush over something that seems to be inside the lining of his doublet that and you're able to kind of just cut a couple of stitches, and you look, and in the lining of his doublet, something has been stitched on the inside. It is a single red cardinal feather.
I look at it a long moment, and I'm gonna remember the feathers that we were offering. I'm gonna. That's brown.
I said that out loud.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
as you, like, pull this out, Brom says that. The other thing that
I'm
you
gonna
find...
hand it off to Brahm and then continue rifling.
So you get that. The other thing that you find when you are, like, kind of moving his hands, there's something beneath his gloves.
Okay.
You pull the gloves off, and beneath the black velvet glove on his right hand, on his ring finger, is a ring. It is a gold and ruby inset ring, exactly like the one that Cartwright Delker was wearing, that Tabitha has accused somebody of stealing off of him when he was killed.
Stealing knife.
You don't think it's like
The same
the
one?
same. It's not like we found Delker's
Yeah,
ring.
okay.
It's like sort of like a class ring type of deal. Like this dude has the same ring that Delker had.
Okay.
I will see if I can pull it off of that.
Easy enough. It comes off.
Hell.
I
There
will-
are several things we can do right now.
I
Apologize for interjecting, but
Mhm.
we have a corpse.
Mm-hmm.
Corpse knows things.
Mm-hmm.
It is able to be raised from the dead if we were to undo killing this super guy. If we knew how to do that, but we don't. So
I don't think there's anybody.
Why bring it up?
terribly sorry, I forgot. Anyway, we need to talk to it and get information out of it, or hear me out. We can toss it into the goo pile and hope that it doesn't become the dominant personality.
Well, it is dead, so maybe that doesn't matter.
We don't know whether the other people were dead before they got absorbed. I'm thinking more we find a place to dump the body. Looks like a...
You are questioning the body as for as much information as possible.
Fair enough.
Is
but
the other...
let's-
Just side note, is anyone ever going to find this place, ever?
At this point, Harkin's like, do your... I mean, we can probably not cut his head off this time, but do your question here, and then just leave him here.
Yeah.
like
It's like in this secret...
We were looking for this
lair.
place, and it
Yeah.
took us a while. I don't think anybody's going to stumble upon this place.
Okay. You ask your questions. I'm gonna go see about the prisoners in the other room. Get them loose and get them as sworn to secrecy as possible.
I will follow you
Or
without speaking.
Or
do we go to the authorities with this and have them as witnesses?
he's a Volandian, or was a Volandian city.
He still is. His death doesn't end that.
Harkin is definitely, like, deep in thought at this point. He's like...
Talking to your people, trust him. Like, are they not... Screw us.
We both know the answer to that.
He's sort of... He
I'm worried
looks,
about your people.
and he says, let me think. Do what you gotta do down here. Let me think.
Okay, let's go get those prisoners.
All right, you guys come back out. The blob thing is still there. It actually looks like it's like compressed down. It's a lot smaller than it was.
Okay.
The like Kel simulacrum is still like a couple of feet out of it, and is still very much like
Okay, I
Just turn
circle
around with
around
that
it. I
and
double
look at
check the woman there. She is dead.
she is dead.
Roll it and see what happens.
No!
And I stomp towards the shouldn't. I'll slow down when I realize I'm stomping because those poor prisoners don't need to see someone that looks furious.
Sure. Okay. So you're able to go there. I'll save you the effort of having to make a bazillion checks. The cages that they're in are locked, but they are pickable.
Okay.
It doesn't take you terribly long to like break them all out of their cages.
While they're doing that, I'm going to take my little breather to get my spell slots back.
Sure.
Well, I'm still in that.
Yeah. So you guys are kind of waiting in there with the dead guy as Alar Walter sort of centers himself. The prisoners there are like pretty shell shocked, kind of like terrified. Takes you a couple of minutes of coaxing to like assure them like we're not gonna kill you.
Yeah. The first thing I do is get down low, set my hands flat on the ground. Is it gonna hurt you? It's okay. more times am I going to see people like this? It's alright. Nobody's going to hurt you. We're here to get you out. See her? See that symbol on her chest? Not going to hurt you.
The two in, so as you kind of go to this first chamber, the two in there, they actually look kind of similar to each other now that you're like giving them a good look. They look like maybe they're sisters. One of them seems to be, you're concerned maybe she's in a state of shock. She's like not really responsive. The other one does sort of take note of you guys, and she sort of nods. She says, all right, we just want to get out of here.
Okay. Do you think you can carry your sister?
She kind of looks. She says, I think she'll walk.
Okay.
She says, yeah.
There is a ladder. Do you think she's going to be able to climb it, or do you think you're going to need help?
She sort of kind of looks at her and she says, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Down this hallway, and he starts giving directions.
She kind of nods. I remember from when they brought us in.
He hands them a couple silver each.
So the kind of catatonic sister, you sort of like put it in her hand and close her fingers. She holds it but doesn't otherwise react. The other one sort of nods. She says, I don't know who you are, mister, but thank you. And she looks, both of you. She says, I'm Miriam. This is my sister, Janessa. She says, well, I just want to get out of here, but thank you. If we ever see you again, if there's anything we can do. And kind of like once you let her out, they sort of like bustle off quickly.
Take care of yourselves. That's all. Okay. Move on to the next one. Same deal. Pick the lots and try and reinsure them as I'm.
Sure. These two seem a little more with it. They're not quite as like dirty. It looks like they haven't maybe been here as long. And one of them is kind of like a shorter, slightly darker skin, kind of like stockier individual. And as you're like sort of picking the lock, she kind of looks at you and she says, well, if you're letting us out, are those damn whoever they are, they've been taken care of?
They're all dead.
She like, good. Bastards. She says, similar to them, she's like, I don't know who you people are, but good. Maniacs. Yeah. You kind of unlock the two of them.
Same deal. Pass a few silver to each of them. Give them quick directions just in case they need them. Take care of yourselves.
They quickly sort of like nod and then just bustle out and make their way.
When they leave, he kind of sags back against the wall. Looks a little like if he's aged 10 years. We're taking a deep breath and heading back towards the room.
All right, so we'll move back to you guys, and we'll kind of let you guys do your thing while like simultaneous to while they were letting those people out. So say you've kind of like taken your breather here, and you can do your spell.
Brown, buddy. I believe you're still in the room.
Yeah, so the two of you, and I think Harkin is also in this room at this point.
Where's Nula? Who did you go?
Nula went with Cal. Or Nula went with Cal. Alar.
I know better than to ask questions, especially ones you shouldn't answer, but not really a fan of finding that feather here.
Yeah, neither am I.
This body needs to be disposed of. It should be left here. We cannot take any trinkets from it. It's good to know if they can be traced. This guy's not going to give us any useful information, even if I talk to his corpse now.
I would agree with that.
I put him under gentle repose to keep his corpse fresh for a while. He shouldn't rot for another 30 days, I think it is. Something like that.
10 days, I believe.
10 days.
General repose.
Gives us a week. or longer. And we should set a trap, I think. Keep an eye on this place. A couple days. Pay some merchants. I don't care. You can't be caught being involved. We can't be caught being involved. Something's fishy, man. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
I don't know. I don't think we're going to really get any answers from this place.
If I had a way to force him to coerce him to tell the truth,
Yeah, well,
to get at least some information.
Before he was dead, we might have been able to manage that, but
I can ask him questions, he can answer.
yeah, but now that he's dead, we got no leverage.
He doesn't have a will, just knows.
I mean, we can try it. If it doesn't do nothing.
From where he's leaning against the wall, Harkin is also like, worst that happens is we don't get anything useful. Might as well do it.
Still like the idea of tossing another creature, but I'm worried that it would be a sociopathic people eater. Alright, what do you want to ask? Now's your chance to ask somebody that might be high up in your org.
Well, the first thing we're going to ask is where he got that feather. That's definitely the first question.
It's inside his coat. We both know where it came from.
Well, it's more like how. How did he get it? I don't know where he got it from. And what was he planning to use it for?
So I'm going to ask about... You want to ask his status in the org?
Just because he had the feather doesn't mean he's... It's more like we were probably doing something for him. I don't think he was in. I don't think he was a main guy.
I guess there's only one way to find out. Alright, well, I will prop the meat pile with head attachment into a seat and try to lash the thing so it can at least, like, sit up a
Kind of
little
move
bit.
it into a standing position. We'll say like you guys sort of pass back past contemplative Kel again,
I
and
will sit out here and just stare at Kel.
okay. So you can go. I mean, you can.
Yeah.
So the rest of you can go in there. You're sort of out with thinking Kel. The sort of the blob behind him is continuing to like shrink. As you kind of look and you take a seat, you actually see that the like Kel, from like the back of his like Achilles tendon, there's like a thin line of goop that connects him to the rest of the thing. So you're able to sit down with him. You kind of come back just as Walter finishes casting his spell, and you see the eyes of Solomon Lazar sort of like flicker open again and just sort of look unseeing around the chamber.
Oh boy, here we go.
How many questions do you get?
5, right? 5. Do you have to ask them, or can anyone ask them?
I think anybody can probably ask them.
Well, I have to, but
And
by all means, yeah.
we'll, we can certainly
We
can hand wave like it gets translated through
Yeah.
Walter if you guys want to say something.
I will give Brom 2 questions. Baylor, you may ask up to 1.
Okay.
Up to 1, so 0 or 1.
Yeah.
And then I'll ask the final 2. So
I'll take out the feather and say, what was your plan for this?
technically I can't say.
What was your plan for this feather?
The feather that we found in your coat.
The corpse speaks in this sort of like, as its rib cage and lungs have been like smashed. And it's, he says,
You hear a tiny oopsies from the hallway. It's like, I think you got an Oathbreaker paladin now.
and he says, "No plan. Just marking."
Markings?
Marking, yes.
And somebody else can answer their question.
Yeah, Taylor, you got one.
Ponder.
Figuring out the wording if you've got a question you want to ask.
What does your ring signify?
The ring marks those initiated.
I guess you gotta ask him initiated what?
I'll ask that question. So, initiated into what?
The greater good, the glory of Artanis.
God damn it.
That's your organization, isn't it?
Don't ask questions. Just give it a second.
That's fine. That's fine.
I know. I know, but I don't want to like mysteriously count against the fort. Yeah. So. Where is the information stored for the creature?
It sort of seems to like waffle as if like that question doesn't compute to something that like means anything to it. And then he just sort of like unleashes a short stream of like pseudo gibberish sprinkled in with like the greater good, all for the greater good, the work. One more.
God, this is a hot situation. The greater good. Shot at!
I have one if you...
No, that's you have the last one. I already asked you.
Who was your direct contact in the Brotherhood?
He's quiet for a very long time. And you see the magic is beginning to fade. And just as you think that he is not going to answer you, he whispers. You have to like lean in to hear it. And he says, "Pendragon." And Walter's spell releases
Pendragon.
Pendragon.
Does the last name, does that name mean anything to me?
It does not.
Pendragon.
Oh,
Is
he
it
meant-
one word?
One word, Pendragon.
He meant Benjamin Dragon.
Yep.
Yeah, he's Ben Dragon.
Do you have
Ben
books
Dragon.
on dragons, comma Ben?
You got any books on Ben Dragon?
No, Pendragon.
That's
is
what he was doing
says.
wrong the whole time. It wasn't a subject. It was
Doesn't
a-
doesn't ring a bell with me either.
It does not mean anything to any of you. You get the impression that maybe it's a last name, but you almost get the impression that it's like a pseudonym.
It's a nickname.
It's a title.
Well, you're fucked, my dude.
So kind of this spell fades. Meanwhile, outside Nula, Kel has sort of... He kind of nods a little bit. You hear a little bit more of that like murmuring, as if like a bunch of people are talking to each other. The blob itself has like shrunk down to almost nothing, and it's like just Kel at this point. And he turns and he reaches into about a mound this big, which is all that's left of the main form at this point. and he pulls something out of it, which you recognize as Kel's pack. And he sets it on the ground at his feet. And he nods and seems to begin to, like, come back to focusing on the present. Meanwhile, you guys finish your interrogation of Solomon Lazar.
I'll file out of the room.
Okay.
Well, we have 10 days. In 10 days, this can be asked questions again. In 10 days, it will start to rot. What do you want to do?
Punch its head in.
Okay.
Just destroy the head?
You just pummel. Your hand is, like, bloody and torn from the, like, skull shards as you just punch the skull into, like, a pulp. Harkin sort of looks on this, and he kind of nods and he says, all right, I think I got an idea. Let's get the hell out of here. And he walks out of the room after Alar.
I also think
I'm gonna, once again, I'll be leaning against the wall. Then I'm gonna head over. Is there anything on the body of the woman there? Anything that might identify her? No. I pat the shoulder, whisper quiet, I'm sorry to her, and stand up and
All right.
look towards you guys as you
So you guys are now standing in this chamber with a few cultist corpses. What you understand to be a simulacrum of Kel, with Kel's backpack placed on the floor in front of it. And he looks up to you, and something is a little different in his expression. And he says, "This is all we can do. You only have a moment." And then Kel looks at you guys.
You had to charge out into the middle of it, didn't you? I'm sorry.
Made my own choices.
No, we'll just.
Squish.
He actually feels like a physical. He feels like Kel. He doesn't feel like a Jello mold of Kel.
Sucked into the mind.
Damn it! We've been tricked.
No, it feels like flesh and bone Kel.
Is there anybody that we should reach out to?
Is there anything unfinished you'd like to continue?
I think there's just two things I think that you should know. The first is that when I was working at the library with Archivist Bird,
Smash cut the bird sneezing.
Bart's like, what was that?
all of the books on dragons are gone.
All of them?
Like, gone? Like, they just don't exist gone?
Archivist couldn't find them. He showed me where they were supposed to be.
Missing.
They are not there. That sounds similar to our friend Delker not being able to get the information that he might have wanted. Someone is controlling who gets to see what. Second thing is that you, are definitely in over your heads now.
Yeah, we kind of got that impression.
All right, even in death, still state in the obvious.
Means that you have to be on the same page about things. We never really were. We trying to do good things, or are we trying to do a job? Are we murderers? Hey, you guys wanted to murder those guards. They turned out to be dead, but the intent was there.
What goes?
In this room, there's that slumped over corpse that we were gonna.
No, we were laughing that she just
He doesn't
turned
know
that man
that.
into a meat puppet.
He doesn't know that.
If you're not on the same page about what it is that you're trying to do and how you're going to try to do it, I don't see that ending well for anyone.
Fair enough.
We're gonna miss our little moral compass and built-in explosive device.
Yeah, who else is gonna have a panic attack and conjure a unicorn?
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, just a little. Dive off and go help Nula and come surface, and there's a freaking unicorn.
If I could speak to the dead this way every time, it would be far more reassuring.
That would smell better.
Yeah, there's that. Save us a seat, will you? Hopefully we won't be seeing each other for a while.
I don't think you want this seat, but
It's kind of sticky.
You understand.
Forgive me for wasting your time, but are you the dominant personality now? Do you have control over this? Or is it just a mutual agreement for the time being?
I mean, kind of new to all this, but I think it's an allowance that's being made.
I'm sorry.
I made my choices. You guys have to go make yours.
Can I do healing?
Smash it.
Thunderous Smite, you can.
No, heal for points to see if I will.
You can try.
I will do 13 points of.
Okay. It seems to you feel kind of the divine energy sort of flow from you into this sort of simulacrum of Kelly. You don't see any difference in him necessarily, but you think you did something.
Not this time, Nula.
And then she just burst into a puddle.
Polymorph into a puddle? How's that even possible?
And the
Kel,
One last thing. Oh, go ahead.
I just want you to know that the well-dressed man, bitch slapped him real good for you.
Wherever you go from here,
As he goes to the lava.
if you can't do something smart, try to do something good.
If you have good conversation partners in there.
And with that, you see kind of the veil passes back over Kel's face, and once again you're talking to the entity, and it says, if it is at all a consolation, all of those who are part of us now are not gone in the strictest sense. They exist within us. And he kind of nods. He says, this is the best that we could offer you. if our paths cross again, perhaps we will look upon each other favorably in the future. He gestures. Inorganic matter is not as quickly incorporated. These are the things that he was carrying. This is all we have. And he looks, and as you kind of are watching, he's starting to like sort of become slightly amorphous again. And you realize that like as this pile has been like shrinking, and now like this kell starts to like recede, he's seeping through like the tiny crevices between the flagstones of the floor. And the last thing you hear as he begins to completely lose shape and disappear, he says, "We cannot go with you. We don't know what we are, but we must find out on our own. We are sorry." And the last kind of bit of this ooze seeps into the floor and is gone. And you're alone in the chamber with a handful of dead bodies.
I'll toss the cultist body, see if there's anything.
Nothing of interest. Kell's backpack is there, and Harkin.
Man, I hope that sailor costume is in there, because that's a rental. We're going to lose our deposit.
You had an idea, Harkin?
He kind of nods his... Yeah, let's walk. We'll talk about this.
Al, you got the pack?
What's the floor in here made out of?
Stone.
Is it just like flagstones, or just like stone?
It's like stones, but they're like cobbles, essentially. There was enough of like these micro gaps that this thing was able to like filter itself through the floor and out of this chamber.
Are they very big stones?
Pretty big.
Are you asking if I can bury all the
Are
corpses?
is one of them carryable?
Probably not. Like removable from the floor.
I'm gonna walk over to the spot where Kell died.
Okay.
And stick my crowbar in it, and I'm gonna have Moon come over and swing her hammer into the crowbar as like a chisel.
Okay. Even in your like exhausted state, you muster enough strength to, and you drive the crowbar about 7 inches into the stone. It just sticks straight up like a marker.
I'm gonna draw this and compare it to the other circle that we found in the other place and see if it's similar, and then.
All right.
And it's just I assume like maybe little bits of it came off where we.
Sure. Okay, a little stone. All right.
I'll make sure that she's unhooked at least.
She's what?
Like, was she chained?
No, she's
Okay.
just laying there.
I'll pick up a handful of little stones and hand them to everybody.
Okay. Everybody gets a stone.
Gets that Kell rock.
Kell rock.
Showing his love for rocks.
And as you guys make your way out, I think we'll take a brief intermission to let everybody use the bathroom. Let me take a drink after doing that guy with his crushed lungs voice, and
I was trying to keep the body intact this time. I'm sorry.
and we will return. We'll return to wrap up our episode. We'll probably have a little bit of a shorter episode, but we'll come back to kind of wrap things up for the evening. So thank you for joining us tonight. If you've been watching along with us. We will be back in just a couple of minutes. Hello, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us over the break. We are returning as our group makes their way out of this underground labyrinth of these. Oh, geez.
We came back and Carlos just wasn't at the table
just
anymore.
wasn't
Like,
here.
yeah, we had to take him out back and shoot him. That's the rules of Tabletop Legends.
So yes, they
Yeah.
they are leaving. They are leaving this underground lair of these cultists with some information, but perhaps less than they would have liked, and one less member of the party. As you guys make your way back through this underground kind of labyrinth to the surface the way you came, Harkin explains to you that he thinks probably you guys have put a stop at least to whatever was happening with this. The creature is gone. You've acquired this relic that they were using to do whatever it was they were doing with it. Which, per the terms of your agreement, is yours to take back to the collective. But based on the information that you gleaned from speaking with the ex-city councilman, there is clearly something larger going on here. Probably larger even than what he was embroiled in before you arrived, with powerful officials in the city and peacekeepers being, if not on the take, at least being pressured. He thinks with the elimination of sort of cutting off the head of the snake of at least whatever this plan was, he thinks he probably can proceed with working whatever this case is. He thinks there's probably some of the city council members that are trustworthy. Maybe not Shamara Palta, or at least not the precinct that he had been working for. But he thinks he can continue to look into this, continue to sort of push buttons and follow leads to find out what the bigger picture is. But at the very least, you have gotten justice for Eleanor, in his opinion anyway. And for whatever consolation he can offer you, you know, you got the guy responsible for losing Kel. He promises that he will maintain contact both with Dimios Themeron and with you guys as he continues to look into this and continues to investigate. He will share information that he gains if he comes across it with you guys. But his recommendation is basically take your lantern and get out of Dodge. You completed your job. His investigation is done. Take the relic, go back to the wizards.
Is there enough to give to the family of Eleanor?
Enough what?
Information.
Yeah, he'll probably, you know, he kind of says like he'll send them something. He doesn't. He'll tell them like that she's dead. He'll kind of tell them sort of in vague details what happened. You don't get the sense that he thinks much of her, like of her father. But you know, he says like, I'll handle that.
All right. Let's update our priestess friend. Get
Mavis?
thank you. Set up somewhere. She might be safe enough for her to return to the care of the temple. And
Will bringing her back to the wizards be helpful?
I don't know. They might be able to identify what kind of magic was used.
I'm like, I jingle the lantern. It's like, we have the thing that did it, probably. Like,
I don't know whether it's going to be able to be undone, but
I didn't take the time to look at the device before using it. I just hoped for the best.
I mean, it helped. It was better than my plan, which was grab the thing, toss it to one of you, distract the thing, get you guys to run, and then run myself.
Please get your weasel, sir.
Yeah, Scooter the Celestial.
Derek, can you handle your weasel, sir?
Come here.
Well,
You think, Lou?
we should start faster to teleport back at this point. We just gotta hope that our paperwork is good enough to just leave without too many questions.
Let's find out. Like I said, let's make a quick rendezvous with the priestess.
We have less than a day to leave.
Yeah. Well, this will not take long, one way or the other.
Easy enough to track her back down. She's where you left her at the inn where you guys got a room. If you want to bring Mavis back with you, that can be arranged, and your priestess friend will offer to come with you as well, or you can kind of leave her be, and she's kind of decided that fate has sort of brought her to this path and put her in protection of this young woman. She is, whether you guys bring them back with you or not, she is planning to kind of keep this girl in her care and try and rehabilitate her if at all possible.
Let's say we bring her back. I mean, we got 3 wizards who might be able to figure something out.
Yeah, no problem. So you can bring the 2 of them back with you.
3 wizards.
So that's easy enough. It doesn't take you much longer to kind of arrange your return trip through the teleportation network. And
was there anything we need to do with the boy that we sent?
Niles?
Well,
I'd rather
We'll run
just
into
let
him and pay him.
we'll give some money to Harvey.
you paid him up front.
We paid him up front, so
Yeah, he's good.
just him mapping the city, he can just do what he wants with that. So I'm okay with not interacting.
We'll let Harkin know that was done in case he can find a use out of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he's like,
just
don't worry, that's fine.
And yeah,
Frank the
we'll
child.
proceed to head back to
Head
Nibiria.
back. Alrighty. So you return to Nibiria. It is cold and dreary when you return to the city. Not quite as cold and dreary as it was much further north, but still, the weather seems to have decided to fit the somber occasion of your return, and you come back to 28 Dorset. Sort of walk your way right in, as you're comfortable enough there at this point. Stanfield is the first that you run into. He kind of is bustling about, just tidying and cleaning up. And as you guys come in, he turns to greet you. "Oh, you have returned. I trust your trip was Oh no. What's happened?"
ALR is just gonna walk past him, pat him gently on the shoulder, and where are they?
He points. He says, "Upstairs in the laboratory."
Thanks.
As you guys kind of filter in, he sort of looks. He takes in your the 2 individuals that you've added to your repertoire, and he nods to them and says, what? Oh, all right, and sort of looks.
Stanfield, you might want to come with us.
He sort of is a little confused. Ania says, "Mr. Stanfield, was it? I am Ania. This is we are calling her Mavis. Perhaps we will." She gestures towards the parlor. She says, "We will sit. Go with your friends. We will be fine, thank you." And he kind of nods, and as you guys are sort of filing up, he looks and he sort of moves over. He says, "Lady Nulo, where is Master Kell? What has happened?"
Nula just cries.
And he doesn't ask any further questions. He sort of casts his eyes down and nods and follows you guys upstairs. And as you are... What's that?
Way to go,
You guys make your way up. When you come up to the 3rd floor, you see the 3 members of the Collective of the Arcane Eye, Dimios Themeron, in his normal, kind of well-pressed robes, his ever-present, like the glove that he wears over his one hand, kind of in place as he has like a pipe up to his lips. Namara is kind of seated in a chair, looking slightly like out into the middle distance, her blind eyes just kind of unseeing. And Colin on a chair with like a number of books on it, so that he's like booster seated up, and they're all kind of looking at the spell circle in the center of the room, where you see again they appear to still be working on that black wand that you guys brought back from your first mission. And as you guys enter the room, both Dimios and Colin are very like intently studying this as it hovers about 2 feet off the ground in the middle of this spell circle. But Namara tilts her head. Without looking at you guys, she just goes, and the ring of runes around the spell circle dim, and the black wand settles back to the ground. And she says, "If ever I have felt a group of people enter a room with such a storm cloud about them, what has happened?" And Dimios kind of looks up, and he looks you over. You see Colin look up as well, does not seem to recognize you. He kind of moves over to the other side, and you see him like grab his book and come back with it.
Colin, please strike 129 for the record.
He's like begins to flip. Immediately, both Namara and Dimios are like, ah. And like 15 seconds later, you see Colin like kind of reads through, and he looks back at you, and he just goes, "Oh, fuck." Slams his book.
We were successful in retrieving a relic, but not without cost.
Nolo walks out and just goes back to peruse, essentially.
Baylor will find a place to sit down, and he does so heavily, and he'll recount what occurred to them.
The story takes as long as it takes. The wizards listen in silence. You tell them about Harkin's mix-up with apparently the wrong type of people in power in the city. You tell them about your introduction to the investigation following the Trail of Clues to meet up with Harkin himself, about the string of disappearances and missing girls, about following leads to the underground lair of these religious fanatics, the penitent ones. They remark that penitent ones are not exclusive to Adracombe. There are they crop up from time to time, even here in Niveria. So they are familiar with the penitent ones, with this religious cult. Unclear as if to whether or not there is a further connection, or whether it just happens to be a group of them specific to there that were kind of roped into whatever this was. But they do remark that they are aware of the penitent ones, and they are spread pretty far and wide across the 5 kingdoms. And you tell them of the creature that you fought. It is as alien to them as it was to you on encountering it. And you tell them of Kel's fate. And Dimios is reserved, but you see crestfallen. Namara, a few tears drop from her eyes, and shakes her head. She says, "I liked him very much." Stanfield, as you kind of reach the end of your your tail kind of very quickly like stands himself up from where he had been sitting, and with his most prim posture, like leaves the room. You guys kind of catch like as he goes, and then you hear him aggressively making coffee downstairs. And you finish your tale and show them the lantern.
I don't know whether that was an illusion coupled with some sort of energy drain.
Pointed away from people.
How much, if any, of the information that you guys gained from speaking with the corpse did you share with the
I have
wizards?
said nothing. Alar has recounted the tale.
Alar was not present during your interrogation. Oh, no, was he? He was.
I was.
So how much of that are you looking to share with them, if anything? Do you leave that part out?
And related to the girl.
Do you...
Here.
do you like tell them I guess how much of the fact that there is some sort of a larger conspiracy do you share, regardless of maybe you leave out the details of the organization specifically, maybe you tell them the details. I guess just like how in the loop are you bringing them on the
You
the
told them
big
about
picture?
The ring, but not the feather. There are
Yeah.
levels.
Let me think for a second. I will tell them about the unusual matching ring.
Okay.
And ask if they know of any organizations that have such a ring.
Sure. They don't seem to off the top of their head. They shake their head.
I would certainly suggest that there was... I don't think they've seen me talk to dead and or know I do that.
I don't think so.
So I'm definitely going to leave the part out where I spoke to a corpse.
Sure.
But generally otherwise imply that there might be further magical related things going on.
I'll leave the part out about the feather and the name of the organization. I will focus a bit more on my impression of what it was like to get hit by that lantern to light.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure if that was an illusion that I saw that vast space and all the people. I mean, kind of would have to be.
They kind of seem, bewildered, and Demi says, "Until we look at the relic that you've brought back, it is impossible for me to say."
Believe me, I'm happy to hand it off to you. Just be careful and don't look at it. Don't look directly into the light.
Sort of nod.
I'll try to vaguely explain to best because I've used it already.
Sure.
I'll try to vaguely explain.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty self-explanatory. It's
Okay,
a shuttered lantern. So you can kind of you give them the rundown pretty well of don't point it at your face and open the shutter is a pretty easy concept to explain to them.
And I'll explain that at least temporarily we may have two guests.
Maybe tomorrow I can look at
Can Namar look at it?
it. Maybe tomorrow I can look at it.
Maybe, you never know.
Perhaps they might be able to learn whether the blindness effect that might have been caused by the lantern is something that could theoretically be undone for Mavis' case. If they're so willing to try.
The three wizards confer with each other for a few minutes, and they kind of turn back to you. And Demios says, "We believe that it is for the best that we seek outside counsel, both with the last item that you brought back to us, and with this, especially if these rumors, as you say, are true of similar rings, both here in Naviria and there in Odricombe, discussions of grand plans. This is perhaps worth addressing with the Ordinum Librae. Namara says, I will look into the girl below. She gestures to her own eyes. She says, I was blinded by magic as well. I have been unable to restore my own vision, but at the very least I have experience with this. Maybe I can help.
Should I try to capture some of that creepy light with the magic item you guys gave me?
That sounds like a
Yeah, they pretty much all, like, simultaneously, all three wizards are like, no.
Maybe small doses might be researchable. I don't know.
Damien says, we appreciate it, but we will conduct our research on our own. It is, until we have a better idea, it is not wise to be meddling. And Namara says, we will look into this. I think, in light of what has happened, at the very least it is best to take some time. She kind of looks, she says, I understand if this work is more dangerous than you are anticipating. We can discuss the terms of our contract. In the meantime, I will continue looking in on our hand, as I said I would. But I think some time off would be good for everyone.
Do you have any small trinkets for children? Magical or non-magical?
Says, I am sure we can find something in the house. What do you have in mind?
3 small children back home. I'd like to bring them a little something fun from my travels, but seeing as I only find horrifying things, I'd rather not bring them back.
She sort of nods. She says, we can arrange something. They kind of collectively heave a sigh and they say, your journeys have been long, and this is not pleasant for any of us. Let us part. And Demia says, I will speak to Stanfield and we will do something to honor Kel's memory.
Thanks.
That you leave them with the lantern and head downstairs, and I think that's where we should call an end to tonight's session. Okay. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for sticking with me. That was a heavy episode. We will return probably next week, as far as I know, for our next intermission episode, where we will hopefully get a chance to see some downtime activities from our various characters and maybe learn a little bit more about them and meet a new character. But I appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you to our sponsors, who you guys heard about during our break. And please be sure to follow and subscribe here to Proficiency Bonus on Twitch, or subscribe and hit the notification icon if you are watching this on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, Tabletop Legends. Look for us all across the internet at Tabletop Legends and follow along. But if nothing else, thank you for joining us. Thank you guys for playing. We will see you next week. And good night.